Adobe pitched their daughters to her, but she always turned them down. If you want to do business, let's do business. But my son, Chike, is off limits. Adobe would lash back at them every time. Whenever she saw Chike with females in the village, she would chase them away from him. And when he returned home, she would give him the silent treatment for some time, then warn him to stay away from the women in the village. But within her, Adobe knew that a time would come when her son would want to get married. So she decided to take matters into her own hands. I'm going to look for a wife for my boy, someone I will be happy with, she said to herself. But her plan quickly came to an end when she came across a young woman crying on her way to the market. Out of concern, Adobe asked why she was crying, and she said, "It's my father. He's dying. He's dying. The herbalist will not continue his treatment if I don't give him more cowries." Upon further questioning, Adobe found out her name was Ekoma. The young woman lived alone with her father since her mother passed away. So Adobe said, "I will do all I can to help you." She kept to her word and paid for Ekoma's father's treatment, and in no time, the man recovered. Weeks later, Ekoma and her father brought gifts to appreciate Adobe. But on their way out, Chike saw them and Ekoma innocently smiled at him. Instantly, he was drawn to her. Chike went indoors and stylishly asked his mother about the people that left out. Showed him all he needed. The young man began to go at her. He wanted to marry his wife. Ekoma was very worried. She said, "Before I ever see your mother, I heard stories about how much she protects you. I only accept your proposal if she agrees to our union." Chike was scared because for the first time, he had found someone he loved. But however, he also could not afford to lose Ekoma, so he went to his mother and said, "Mama, I want to marry Ekoma. Biko, I need your support." Chike trembled as he spoke because he was convinced she was going to say no. But shockingly, she said, "Ekoma is a perfect choice. When are we going to see her father?" Chike was shocked. He tried to ask his mother why she found Ekoma special, but she did not have an answer to give him except, "You want to marry her, right? If she's your choice, I will support you." Months passed and the marriage rites were over. After the marriage ceremony, Ekoma and Chike moved into their new home. But at night, there was a loud knock on the door. Chike was in the bathroom, so Ekoma went to open the door. When she opened it, she was shocked to see Adobe standing there with her luggages. "Ewo, Mama, is there a problem? Why are you here so late?" Ekoma asked her. "Your Majesty, Igwe, do I need your to visit my son's house?" she answered rudely. Ekoma was shocked. Her mother-in-law had never spoken so unkindly to Ekoma and to bring her properties, and soon she made herself clean. When Chike was out of the bathroom, Ekoma told him what happened, and he immediately went to his mother. When Adobe saw him, she had finished after she paid for Ekoma's father's treatment. Her son knew she was lying. How could a whole Adobe become poor overnight because she spent a few cowries? his wife to be she was at home. He said, "Do not worry, she will be gone very soon." But he was wrong because Adobe was there to stay. In the afternoon of the next day, she realized Ekoma had cooked lunch, so she went and poured a large amount of salt inside. Luckily, Chike and Ekoma already had a taste of the food, so they knew the food had been compromised. Ekoma tried to ask her why she did that to her meal, but Adobe was unrepentant. "I saw all the meat you put in that pot. When you were living with your father, were you eating meat?" Adobe answered. Ekoma asked why she did not caution her instead of oversalting the food, but Adobe hissed and walked away. Annoyed, Ekoma went to report to her husband, but he said, "Just ignore my mother. Allow her to do what she wants to avoid issues." When he said that, Ekoma knew she was in trouble because she had married a man who could not stand up to his mother, and she had a mother-in-law who only allowed her to marry her son because she felt she could control her due to the help she rendered her father. Each day brought a different version of Adobe. Sometimes she would nag Ekoma all day, and other times she would barge into their room at night without knocking. "Both of you should keep your door open. Do you not know that I am sick? How will you hear when I am calling you?" she would say to them. Upon all that was happening, Chike remained quiet. He was afraid to caution his mother, though he hated sick of her and being pregnant. 5 months into pregnancy, she became ill and needed treatment from the herbalist. Various herbs were given to her to help her recover quickly. But when the herbalist left, Adobe began complaining. "I do not want a sick grandchild. If he needs all these herbs now, perhaps the child will use herbs all its life. When I had my son Chike, I never took any herb. Yet, look at the strong, handsome man I gave birth to," she said in a nagging voice. Chike tried to quieten his mother, but she was not having it. "Ekoma, we will not take any herbs. I will not accept a weakling as a grandchild." As usual, Chike respectfully didn't give his wife any of the herbs. But as days went by, her health became worse, and one day she refused to wake up anymore. Fear ran down Chike's spine. He ran to call the herbalist to check on his wife. As the herbalist tried to revive her, Chike waited outside praying for a miracle. Minutes later, his mother returned home. "Chike, Ogini, why are you outside?" she asked. But Chike did not want his mother. Rather, he began to cry silently, realizing how foolish he had been. Adobe kept pushing him for answers, and Chike did what he had never done to his mother. "Mama, Hapumaka, Biko, don't touch me. My wife might have passed away because of you and how much of it she never spoke to her." She slowly walked inside to see what's going on, and she saw the herbalist Ekom. When she saw that Ekom was not responding to treatment, she began to cry, realizing how much damage she might have caused. So that he kept trying to try. Thankfully, some months later, he came out and announced that she had woken up. And as usual, he left strict instructions for her to take her herbs as prescribed. Chike asked to leave his house. "I want to focus on my marriage. Please, Mama, you have to leave." But his mother begged, saying, "I know I have wronged you. At least, let me assist you with Ekoma. When she is stronger, I will leave your house." Chike accepted because he was convinced his mother now understood her. Weeks passed and Ekoma was completely better. Abi, on the other hand, began packing her because her son made the house uncomfortable for her. But Ekoma begged her to stay. Mama, I know you are not a wicked person. Stay with us and take care of your grandchild. The child will be here anytime soon. Adobe, overwhelmed with such kindness, began to cry. My only friend has found another friend. I must move on with my life. She began to explain how she had lived her whole life for how every decision and turn in her life had to favor Chike, even though they had all wanted to visit her so it's their goal. She always said to herself, who will look after my Chike? Where are you going to go now? Are you going home to live all by yourself? Ekoma asked her. Right, I am going to my parents' house. I have not seen them since they sent me out of the house for the ceremony, but I became scared.